Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. For today's episode of Ain't No Monday Motivation, I'm going to be talking about taking risk. This Wednesday, I will be giving a Toastmaster speech called Go Big or Go Home, and I actually started writing that tonight, and that's what inspired me to do this topic. So, whenever it comes to taking risk, it's always important for you to remember that you have to get out of your comfort zone at some point. And I know that I did talk about comfort zone in a previous video, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. But when you're thinking about taking risks, I don't only want you to think about whatever the first thing is that comes to your mind, whether it's taking a risk with your money, maybe you're like deciding on an investment. It's also taking a risk with your job. It can be small things like I'm taking a risk by posing this opinion to my boss, or maybe I'm taking a risk by trying to convince everyone else on the team to do this idea that goes against the grain. I'm talking about taking risk in your relationships, really getting out of your comfort zone and putting yourself out there, and really just getting you to understand that if you don't take risk in life, number one, you're going to end up with a lot more regrets than you have to end up with. And also, 90% of the time, whenever you do take a risk, like that fear that you have, it rarely ever actually happens. So when you're trying to figure out, should I take this risk? Obviously, I'm not saying you shouldn't be making educated decisions, but make an educated decision before taking a risk, but also keep in mind that it's not the end of the world. So 3 things that kind of help me, get going, whatever. I'm not certain whether or not I want to take a risk that I like to keep in mind. First thing is, and I have my notes over here, is that taking risk is going to ultimately build your confidence. And that's because every time you get out of your comfort zone and you don't let your fear defeat you, you realize that you're this much closer to whatever it is your goal is. And that sort of gives you that momentum. You trusted yourself, you took the risk, and either it was a really good success, obviously, and that gives you the confidence, or maybe it was just a lesson learned. And going forward, you know that maybe that's not the type of risk you want to take, or that whatever it was that you did, maybe you don't want to do that in the future. However, you still trusted yourself to be decisive and make a decision. So bottom line is, taking risks is still going to help you build your confidence in the long run. Second thing that building confidence is going to help you do is, it's going to yield big rewards. Now, you can't name one person who is super successful and they're a millionaire or a billionaire or they're doing really great things and they didn't take a risk. It's just these people don't exist. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and take big risks if you want really big things to happen to you. If you want some breakthrough, for example, in your business and you're scared to spend a little bit of money on yourself, then chances are you're not going to get that breakthrough if you're just sitting around waiting on opportunities to fall into your lap. Like, it's not going to happen. Ask anyone who is really successful, read or watch their biographies, listen to the lessons that they've learned. You're going to have to take big risk if you want to go for the big end game. And the last thing is, the last reason I say that you should make sure you're taking risks is because you're not getting out alive. I know that it sounds really cliche, and people who have had like near death experiences can probably attest to this a lot more as far as like getting things in perspective. But it's very often that we don't think about how many of our decisions are based on things that we believe growing up, or what our family wants, friends' expectations, whatever it is. We don't understand that I'm doing this because this is how I was raised, or I'm doing this because this is what is expected of me. And it's really easy to get caught up in that. But the bottom line is, like I said, at the end of the day, we have a finite amount of time on this earth. Again, life is short, may be a cliche, but it really is the truth. And I can definitely attest to saying that it goes by so fast. Like, I can't, just even the last year of my life has flown by. And I know that it's going to stay like that. So the time's going to pass regardless. So you can either choose to get to the end of your life and have regret saying, I wish I would have taken more risk. I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have pursued this career. I wish I would have worked harder, or I wish I would have given this pitch. Or you can take the risk, accept whatever the outcome is, and understand that everything is a lesson learned. But, and there was my dog. But regardless, the point is, make sure that you are taking big risks. Do not be afraid to take risks because of fear of failure, fear of losing someone, fear that you're not going to get your way. The only thing you really have to be afraid of is you should fear losing yourself. Other than that, whenever it comes to taking risk, everything is a lesson learned. So make an educated decision. Don't jump into anything really hasty, but do not be afraid to take big risks, because you're going to have to take big risks if you really want to get to your long-term goal. Hi, Eve. Eve, I think is your name. Hi, Eve. But that's all I had to share with you guys for tonight. So, I mean, I would love your feedback if you guys have any questions, concerns, if maybe you want to talk about some risk that you're taking or risk you're considering taking, or a time that you were afraid to take a risk and you did take a risk and then you realized that it wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be. And now you have, adapted to being more of a risk taker. And as always, if you guys have any other feedback for me, or if you have a subject that you'd like me to talk about, by all means, please leave me a comment. You can also tweet me at Bianca Lynch. But otherwise, you guys have a great evening.